where'd you go?
Drunk moose!
Going to
Alrighty. Hello and welcome in everybody to the Fargone Racing GT Challenge Season 19 at Snetterton. We are here underway for a super sprint round. And if you haven't been watching Fargone for too long, you may not know what that is, but it is absolute pandemonium all around. So, it is one singular 5 minute, well, not one singular 5 minute quali. Actually, they might have changed it around. I did hear there were some changes to the super sprint format. So, but it is a 5 minute qualifying here around Snetterton. And then we do one very, very, very short race. There's 3 races tonight. So, yeah, 3 5-minute qualifyings before each session and 3 18-minute races. So 3 different race starts, 3 different 5-minute qualifyings. You could not ask for much more as a commentator and as a viewer. It is absolute crazy town. Every single race start, all the races they're not too long, so they don't elongate or anything along the lines of that. It is just going to be pure heads down racing action here in Snetterton tonight, and I am absolutely looking forward to it. And we saw in the practice session, Steve-O was not the car to top it off. It was actually Longy who took the first place in practice, so not usual proceedings here in Fargone, but Steve-O did inform me that he probably has another 5/10 in it, so we do watch him here as he begins a lap of the circuit through the medium speed turn 1, and then get ready braking into the hairpin where Jimmy Broadbent decided to take some names and murder a few people, and then power right out into another hairpin where Jimmy Broadbent took some cars out just through the left, and then really slow it up. And then now here's the other hairpin where Jimmy killed people. Sorry, I'm not too familiar with Snetterton, ladies and gentlemen. I'm learning it on the fly here. So if you don't know Snetterton, just know the commentator knows just about as much about it as you do. So now through the fast left, just keep it left, get over the curb on the right hand side, then get ready for the braking. Slow speed right hander, a little bit tricky for traction, and then power right out. Don't let the grass take you away from the racing circuit. We saw a couple of drivers go off, spin around, or bounce along the grass. It's brutal around here. No runoff whatsoever, basically. Only a couple of curbs and exits around the circuit, as here is a committed corner under the bridge. Flick it through the left, and then really be confident to slow the car up for the right-hander, and then power right out through the medium speed left, and then just flat out now, and then a dab of the brakes in, and just keep it right, and then braking here for the deceptively tight left-hander, and then just throttle out, and now the run towards the line. And what are the opening lap times in this session going to be? A 46.5 and then a 45.9 for Steve-O to take provisional pole. Speed Racer is sitting in the P3 spot. Jason Lee currently on a lap in the Aston Martin, as well as you'd expect everybody else to be. So only 2 laps in this qualifying session for everybody going around. We'll go to Longy as he is trying to chase Steve-O, but Steve-O's right behind him, so the pressure's on for Longy to deliver a qualifying lap here in Snetterton as they head through the left-hander and now towards the hairpin. Now it is all going to come down to this for Longy. How much time can he find, and will Steve-O find any more? Steve-O reckons he can do about a 45.5, 45.4 when the conditions are right, but he's going to pull over. He doesn't find himself improving, being behind Longy, but Longy currently 5/10 up. He only needs a little bit more if he's going to snatch provisional pole off Steve-O for the first of the 3 races tonight. And right now it's looking like he's going to be on for it. Still quite a while left to go in the lap. Still the big long straight here towards the fast left-right, and then still the long right into the final corner as well. He's currently sitting 5/10 up as he heads into the left. This is where time can be found, and he is finding it. He's 7/10 up as he heads through the exit. It drops back to 5. It's going to take a committed final sector here in Snetterton if he wants to try take the provisional pole off of Stephen Reese. Let's see if he's able to do it as he heads through the long right. The left tyre screaming at you as you slowly eke onto the brakes and then power right out. It looks like it's going to be provisional pole here for Longy as he heads towards the line now. What's it going to be from the McLaren driver? It is going to be a 1 minute 45.7. It is provisional pole for the McLaren man, and Speed Racer heading towards the line in the P5 car stays P5. Swooper, the only car left on a lap in the BMW M4, and he's heading towards the line now. He will make inroads, but I don't know if he'll move up a place across the line. No, he won't, but it is a big lap time improvement, but against the odds, something we haven't seen so much this season. Somebody that is Steve-O takes pole position, and it is Longy on pole, a 10.5 from Steve-O, and then a big gap to Eda Nick in P3. Then Hoggy behind him, Speed Racer very close to him, Parker very close, so those three cars very close together pace-wise. Then you have Boost, Perkins in the sensational BMW, MJ, Swooper, Hugs, Davidson, Tobasiah, Dave Ross, and Lee. Rounds out your grid as now we'll get geared up for race number 1 of 3. There you can see on the right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, the format for tonight's racing. So free practice, they already did. Qualifying we just had. Then you have race 1, 18 minutes, a 3-minute interval, 5-minute qualifying, 18-minute race. You get the drill. It's rinse, repeat for the third one. But that is an absolutely fantastic qualifying session here in Snetterton. So I'm absolutely looking forward to what we have ahead of us, as I'll be learning the track as we go on. So hopefully I start to pick up some corner names. I do have a track map on me. But here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get the heli-cam, as tradition stands, for the race start. 2 minutes 14 until the drivers get ready to go racing here in race number 1. There is the heli-cam, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the first 3.5 rows of the grid. And what a fantastic grid it is in Fargone as well. So, Snetterton, let's see, how much do I remember about this track? I love to remember the tracks that I commentate. And I did actually pick up some facts before the race, so let's see. I think it was 4.779 kilometers with 12 corners around this circuit. And Felipe Nasr in the 2011 F3 car, the F308 Dallara chassis, has the lap record with a 1 minute 39.9. We won't see any of those lap times tonight, but we sure can see some pretty fast GT3 lap times in the proceedings tonight. So it is going to be an absolute spectacle to watch all of the action going on in Snetterton in a minute's time when all of the drivers are ready to go. And they're just loading their setups now. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken as well, another fun fact about this little 5-minute quality, 18-minute race 3 times is they also only have, if they've kept this around, 2 or 3 sets of tyres. But I do believe it's actually 2 sets of tyres, but I'll probably get corrected after the race. But that means they have to balance them for their qualies and their races. They have to be vigilant about what tyre they're going to use for what race, but obviously no pit stops. In 18 minutes, GT3 cars can easily go the full race distance in 18 minutes, and the tyres shouldn't struggle either unless you're having to use the same set for 2 races in a row. So 8 seconds until we begin the sector formation sector, and then we'll get the green flag running here in Fargone. So the drivers take away the formation sector. It's going to be Longy alongside Stevo, but this time Longy was the car that qualified on P1, but that allows Longy to have the inside as well for the first 2 corners, which is crucial to holding the lead. Stevo, I think, is probably going to be a bit more consistent in the pace department, but we'll have to see. That's all speculation from what we know about these drivers. So they head down the center straight, and the green flags will be ready to fly. The green lights will be ready to illuminate for the 4th round, I want to say. Round 5, the 5th round of Fargone Racing GT Challenge Season 19. So here we go, Longy alongside Stevo for the race start. It's green flags and away we go, and Longy already gets off to a good start. Stevo trying to put the pressure on as they head down towards the high speed turn 1. He's on the outside, he pinches Longy to the apex to Stevo, and they're still wheel to wheel, they're neck and neck, but Stevo inches ahead as they head down towards the first proper braking zone of the circuit, and it is a big hairpin. Keep it slowed up. Stevo holding onto the lead further down the back. Not too much going on. Lee Perkins currently trying to make his way up through the field. And right now he's sitting in a neat and tidy P8 position. Ignore the bottom right. He is in P8 or P7 at this moment, but not too much going on further down the back. Not any chaos down into the first braking zone like you might even expect, but Stevo is going to be under pressure here as the laps will continue to set in as they head into the middle sector now, and they head towards the slow right-hander and then keep it as they head into the medium speed right-hander of Palmer and just get it done and head towards the Bentley straight now and towards the fast left-right of Brundle and Nelson. So they'll try and absolutely keep it committed here. Mistakes are easy to make here as they head through the left-right. It's really easy to overshoot this right-hander. Do not think it is easy at all to drive around this circuit. It's very testing on the drivers. A very driver circuit here at Snetterton with no runoff, as I said in qualifying. It just creates this sense of you can't make a mistake or your race will be severely damaged. Hello, Zach O'Reilly in the chat. It's good to see you watching along. Hopefully you're going to enjoy the action here in the 5th round of Fargone Racing. But currently, the battle is heating up between Ida, Nick and Hoggy as they head down the straight towards turn 1. Ida is just going to defend the inside, return back to the racing line. Hoggy knows he can't go for it at the fast right. It's never going to work. But will he have a run? Yes, he will, because Ida Nick runs very wide and off the racing surface, and Hoggy is through into the podium places. And that is an absolutely crucial mistake in the grand scheme of things here for Ida Nick, as now he won't be able to defend from Hoggy. He's going to have to try and pass him, but the M4 is not the most mobile machine in human history as well. It's a bit of a tugboat at the best of times. It is such a slow technical circuit as well. I think Hoggy will be unleashed here now in the race, but we'll have to see how that develops. But he also has a hounding McLaren of Parker behind him. He'll have to keep his wits about him as they go further and further into this race. But back up the front, Stevo is not getting too much of a gap on Longy. We saw him get pole position, and we saw in the practice session as well that Longy took the P1 spot. So Stevo finally has some competition about him. Matty's not on the grid tonight, but Longy's taking the place as Matty normally does, and is battling here for the race win as they head down towards the section of Brundle and Nelson, and just completely committed there. There's a yellow flag up the back. It's the 666 car, and that is Demon Boost, who's had a moment. So we'll see what's happened to him. Let's go back. He was off the racing surface, so heading through the slow right-hander. Does he just get it crossed up potentially? Yeah, he runs wide onto the grass. That's the first mistake. Runs deep into the braking zone, off the circuit, onto the grass. The bump just did ACC bumps and runs onto the grass. And that is not what Demon Boost will be wanting at all. Into boot, he had a second half spin as well before he rejoined onto the racing surface. Not what you want at all in the grand scheme of things. But now back up to this lead fight. It's really heating up, but Snetterton, not an easy track to overtake at. You really have to force your way through or force an error on the car in front of you if you want to make a move. So it's all going to come down to Longy's ability to put pressure on. But even Stevo was telling me before the race, after all of it, after all of his hate that he has towards the McLaren, he really struggled to drive it last season. He reckons this season he probably should have run it. It's a lot of tracks, including this one, where the McLaren's really advantaged and really strong around these tracks. So Steve-O just potentially could get a little bit worried here that his Ferrari might not hold on in pace as well as the McLaren, but right now he's holding on very well. We know Steve-O's a consistent man. He has the pace, but being able to hold on is definitely going to be a challenge with Longy hunting the win currently. He's really going to want this, but Steve-O on an absolute flyer right now, continuing to improve on his best lap times. Right now he'd be on for a 45.8 if he can just hook up this lap as he heads through the left, right, tight section, single file through there. If somebody tries to go for an overtake there, I can absolutely guarantee you there will be a crash as they head through and now towards the long right of Coram. I hope I've said that right. I'd imagine it is, or it's Coram, but either way, the British people can cry if I've said it wrong. And then into the final corner, through the final corner of Murray's, and then back down the centre straight to begin the third lap of this race. And Longy still hot on the heels, 4 tenths behind the Ferrari in front of... I'm forgetting how to speak English. 4 tenths behind the Ferrari in front of him. There we go. With 12.5 minutes just under to go as they head through the hairpin, through Montreal. The hairpin is called, and now they run down towards the left-hander. Through Palmer they go. Just keep it fully committed. It's really easy to run wide onto the grass there, but they're all managing it very, very nicely at this moment into the braking zone of Agostini. And then power it right out. These GT3 cars very wide for the circuit, so not too many overtaking opportunities. I think those 2 hairpins to kick off the lap is your best opportunity, and I think the drivers are showing that right now as they head through Oggies and then into the right-hander of Williams, just really wringing the neck out of it here. They are going to be pushing these cars as much as they possibly can, really relying on the assist that these GT3 cars have as well. The TC and ABS really helps you just have a little bit of confidence around such a tricky circuit, but still not too much. You've got to be vigilant to not crash the car, and that's a bit of a curb bounce there for Steve-O. That puts him under a tremendous amount of pressure as they head through the final sector. This could be Longy's time to strike if it wasn't just a skinny part of racetrack. Skinny portion of racetrack, and they still push as they head through the final sector, but Longy dropping off the back once again. The inside curb really not playing kindly here in Snetterton of that fast left-right. That puts Steve-O under a lot of pressure as they head on to the next lap of this race. Down the straight they go. Longy with a lot of slipstream, and he gets the fastest lap to boot as well, a 45.9. Steve-O did a 46.0, but they're both improving all the time here as the laps tick down, and there is 10.5 minutes just over to go here in Snetterton. No signs of this race slowing down whatsoever, but for now I think we'll leave the leaders alone as Davidson and Hugs are about to battle it out as they run down towards turn 1. The Mustang has the straight line speed, but not the cornering, and this is a cornering circuit, so Hugs will have the run off of turn 1 down towards the hairpin. Tobasaya in the background as well will be thinking about putting his nose in as there we go. Hugs goes down the inside of Davidson, and they're side by side here with 10 minutes to go. They run towards now the third corner of the racing circuit into the braking zone, and Hugs not quite able to pull it off down the inside. It was a late aggressive move from Hugs, and it didn't quite pay off for him as well as they head into the slow left-hander. This is where it goes single file once again, as well as in the background it looks like Lee was having his own little battle, but actually he's just dropped into nowhere land as Dave Ross also in a little bit of nowhere's land as well. And back up to the front, Steve-O has built quite a gap to Longy, but Longy just lets it elongate and then closes right back in as we now go back to the Davidson Hugs fight. McLaren versus Mustang. Normally, last season this would have been Steve-O and Maddie, but now he's in a Ferrari. Maddie still holds her Mustang, but she's not on the grid, and these two are filling in all of the action we can possibly see, as well as there is 9 minutes to go, halfway through this race almost, as they push along. Steve-O sets the fastest lap of the race, but Longy's still in hot pursuit, 6 tenths, nearly 7 behind. And as they head through the final sector, this is where Davidson can't make a mistake. or Hugs will be right on the back of him again. They take a very different line. He hits the grass, actually, does Hugs, but he has a brilliant run as they head onto the straight. Will he be trying to go for a move? I would imagine so. I dare say so. He has an absolutely fantastic run in that McLaren as they continue to push on, but still not close enough for a move. The onboard really gives you a sense of perspective as to how close he actually is. A very different line through turn 1. The run down towards turn 2. We saw him try last lap. He's not close enough this time around, as here's an onboard lap with Hugs as he's nearly getting the nose in there. A mistake from Davidson puts him under pressure once more, but still too tight of a section on the racing surface as they head through the medium speed exit of the left-hander and then down towards the Agostini hairpin and just really pushing it. That's wide from Davidson. That's extremely wide. That allows Hugs through and maybe even Tobasaya as well, as there is Davidson. Tobasaya definitely got past. Not a mistake you want to be making, as Jason Lee will be the next car now to try and catch up to him. But that gap is quite significant, as out to the front as well. Longy's pace seems to have dropped off. Steve-O really putting the burners on, and he's pulled out a second, and that's what I mean by Steve-O's consistency. It is just absolutely brutal trying to race him. He's just able to go so fast every single lap, as that's car number 27 slow on the racing track. That's Swooper in the BMW M4. Let's see, what has he done? He was following behind Lee when we cut last to him, and then through the left-hander. Does he make a mistake here? Yes, he does. Just gets a snap, and the BMW that already has damage on it becomes even more stricken, and off to the side of the road he goes, spins it back around, spins up the rears without an unsafe rejoin to boot, and that is really not what Swooper would have wanted, but he gets 2 other cracks at it. He still has 2 more qualities and 2 more races to go, and that's the absolute beauty of the Super Sprint format. It just gives drivers so many chances. Any mistakes, you might kick yourself, but it also still gives you a reasonable chance to get back into it. We saw it as well in the Wednesday Cup, even though it was reverse grids and not 3 different qualies. The Wednesday Cup in Albert Park and the normal layout of the Wednesday Cup runs 3 races, and it means that even if you have 2 poor ones, you could still have 1 good one that kind of makes up for it. I'm the living example, and I think the other 2 winners of the night in Albert Park at round 1 were the same example as well. 1 really strong race and 2 not so great ones. Still doesn't round up to be a terrible round, so it definitely just gives the drivers opportunities to really show what they're made of and how resilient they are as well out on the racing track, which is why 3 races is just such a cool concept. And you don't see it much in league racing either, across ACC, iRacing, AC, the lot. You just never see 3 races, but Fargone and AK Racing definitely put the 3 race format to its paces and really show why it is such an awesome sort of way to run an event. And I think that Swooper will really try and show that as well. I think in the second quali he'll have a resurgence and really try and fight hard, as Eden Nick looks like he's close on the back of Hoggy once again, so he's caught back up here in the BMW M4, and Longy is still dropping off tiny bit by bit to Steve-O, and I think it'll be interesting to see who takes pole for the second race. I think that Longy will probably get 2 out of the 3 poles, but I think Steve-O will snatch 1. And then the races, I think, could all potentially go to Steve-O. It all depends. But right now, it looks like once you get past the first 8 minutes of the race, Steve-O's consistency takes over. And then he just really pulls away. 1.9 seconds at the current point through the middle sector. It's just absolutely crazy how consistent that man is out the front week in, week out. He's an absolute unit. And he's not just a unit on the track either. He makes some good liveries as well. All of these liveries, actually, I'm pretty sure that you see on the grid tonight are all made by Steve-O, or at least the majority of them are. Maybe a couple are from outside the realm. But speaking of the best livery on the grid, not a plug at all, this BMW right here, if it cuts into the frame. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The shameless plug, here we go. Sensational TV, BMW, Lee Perkins behind the wheel sitting in P7. What a beauty. I bring it up every single week and I'll never stop bringing it up. That BMW is the greatest thing to ever exist, and you might see something similar very soon with Zach O'Reilly and I behind the wheel. And I'll tell you what, it won't be a BMW, it'll be a Chevy. as Ronald Marshall making the prediction that that Steve-O will win all 3. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I think it's about that time of the race, as we head into the dying stages, that we get a pure onboard lap here with Eden Nick. I'll shut up and let you listen to the inline 6 that BMW has underneath it. I still had my mic muted. There we go. That is an onboard lap with Eden Nick in the BMW M4 GT3 at Snetterton. And there is now a minute and a half to go. But I think the way it lines up is Steve-O has only a couple of seconds when he crosses the line. But he has to do it. He doesn't have the time to hold up across the line and let the final lap just tick away and be this lap. So there'll be one more lap of racing after this one. This is the penultimate lap here in Snetterton, but Steve-O's really put Longy to his paces and pulled away 3 seconds since their battle stopped about 8 minutes in, and he's just been pulling away ever since as they still continue to push here. Does Eden Nick and Hoggy still battling away as hard as they can, but it looks like it could just slip through Hoggy's fingers, Eden Nick's fingers here. I think that Hoggy should just be able to hold on to that podium place, but final lap antics are always above nobody. It can happen to anybody. Even the best of drivers can have some final lap indecision and just absolutely go for it. And we'll just see what Eden Nick can pull off here as they head through the final sector now. It's all about this run onto the center straight. It is going to be absolutely crucial that he gets a good run here through the left-hander of Murray's and gets a good exit off of the corner, and absolutely slingshots here down the straight. I don't think he's going to be close enough to mount any form of attack on Hoggy, but the pressure could be enough. He's going to have to hope for a mistake. And let's see, committed through turn 1, and then now braking down towards turn 2, just through the hairpin, tip it through, use the BMW's acceleration to just get off the corner. He's all over the back of the Ferrari 296 as it's on the final lap. It's all going to come down to this, but this is where Hoggy will pull away. This is where he can really put that Ferrari to its paces and just try and get away from the BMW behind him, as Steve-O is now heading through the end of the second sector as well. And now the two we're looking at, this battle pack, is now heading through the section of corners that Steve-O was just at a couple of moments ago, and he's really putting the pressure on. Is Eden Nick, can he do a final lap overtake? It'd be brave to do it into the fast left, right. So let's see, does he get a good run off the straight? He does, but is it going to be enough to put the pressure onto Hoggy? with only a sector to go here. I don't think it's going to be enough. He's trying to show the nose, but it doesn't look likely. There's still a couple of corners to go, but he's not going to be close enough, I don't think, as they head through the exit. There we go. There's a mistake from Nick to boot as well on the inside curb. And now back to the man of the race, Stephen Rees. He was in a battle with Longy for the first 8 minutes, and since then it's been pace all around. He's going to cross the line and take the race 1 victory, as you could have probably predicted as well. And he takes the victory with the fastest lap. Longy, after pole position, drops to P2, doing his best Lando Norris impression. Hoggy is going to come home P3 in the Ferrari. Nick, who made a mistake in the opening laps that let that Ferrari get through, is now going to come home in P number 4. He'll be looking to try and get that P3 place in the races to come. Parker comes home in P5. Racer gets P6. Lee Perkins in that beautiful, sensational BMW is going to get P number 7. And then MJ is going to get P8. Tobasiah will come home in P9 as he powers out of the final corner now to cross the line in the M4. That's the P9 confirmed. Then Hugs comes in just behind him in P10. Boost will now head down the centre straight for one last time in race 1. Colin, Newcastle and Melbourne run the same time zone. I can tell you that because I'm not that far from Newcastle. New South Wales and Victoria run the same time zone. Oh, as Davidson crosses the line P12 and absolutely straight lines the wall. Swooper comes home P13. Dave Ross comes home in P14. He's just heading through the final sector. He might time out of this one, actually. Rounding the final corner now, the Mustang across the line, be the last car to cross the line in race number 1. And there we have it, I think. Lee being in the pit lane, I think he was probably meant to cross the line of some description, but we'll probably advance in a moment. So, your final race order is going to be Steve-O takes home the win in race number 1 with good momentum heading into race 2. Longy, after getting pole position, comes home in P2. We'll be looking to get another pole and convert to a win this time around. Hopefully just gets a better jump off the line and then uses the McLaren to his best advantage. But right now, P2 is best result of the night, and Steve-O will not let him have it easy either. Hoggy gets the final podium place. Nick, after a long-fought battle, comes home in P number 4. Parker gets 5th. Speed Racer gets 6th. Then Perkins, MJ, Tobasiah, Hugs, Boost, Davidson, Swooper, Ross, and Lee is your final order here in Snetterton for race number 1. And then now we'll have a 3-minute intermission where all of the drivers will get ready once again to go racing. But it also just gives me a second to have some water, make sure I'm all good to go for race number 2. So, Sensational TV will be right back with all of the action again in a couple of moments' time.
Green line, give it all you got. line. Go, go, go.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, here for the racing action, and qualifying 2 is now underway, and this is where it gets really interesting. This is where this format really shows its presence, because now, as I said earlier on, these guys on the grid only have 2 sets of tyres for 3 races, so this is where you might see a difference in the driver's pace definitely start to show. This is where you'll notice that if a driver randomly has a drop off or increase in pace compared to the others, that it is probably tyre related and not driver related. So say if Longy just wins this by a country mile and Steve-O's nowhere to be seen, that is probably because Steve-O stayed on old tyres and Longy took new tyres. Or if it's the other way around, you would imagine the same thing, just for example. And then the third race gets even more interesting from there, because you have no idea, did somebody do the first 2 races on old tyres, or did somebody just dedicate a quali set for fully pushing and destroying the tyres, and then use the second set for the 3 races? That's probably not a great idea, but some drivers probably could do it. It's really interesting now. It's all strategical, and it's going to be whoever has the best strategy can try and knock out all 3, but I think that not once since we've started, or since I've been around and I've seen this super sprint format, have I seen a driver win all 3 races in a super sprint because of the 2 tyre factor. So this is where it is really going to be a game of trying to figure out the strategies. The wheel-to-wheel racing can also be very, very good, as drivers that were so clear of the driver behind them before could be shrunk back in as well. So it just makes so many different things go on all at once, and you've got to try and track it all. And now the first lap of qualifying is qualifying 2 is underway, and Longy is going to be the car we go with first, and then we'll go back to Steve for lap 2. So down through turn 1, we're expecting 1 minute 45 or a very low 46 lap time in qualifying, but potentially not here on the first lap of qualifying. Probably a mid-low 46 for sure still though, and a very neat and tidy run through the first 2 corners for Longy, and then braking now into the medium speed left, just get it tipped across, and then flat out now towards the hairpin, where it really starts to get tricky. This is where one of the more technical portions of the racetrack begins. Just completely committed, and then power out down the mini straight, and then into the high speed left-hander, just dab over the curb, use all the exit curb, and then go into a slow speed right-hander where you just roll through, hold it tight, open up the exit, and then run through the second right that now runs on to the Bentley straight. What a name for a straight that is, Bentley. The absolute goat, or the goatly, as some would call it. And then now into the fast left of Brundle and Nelson. So completely committed through Brundle, get it down the gears, and then really slow it up for Nelson. Not opened up completely there for Longy, but opened up pretty well. But that's a good snap on the exit as they head through the right-hander of Bombhole. That could sound really bad if I said it wrong. It probably still sounds bad regardless. Probably not the best name for a corner, ladies and gentlemen. And then through Coram, and then into Murray's, the final corner. Get it tipped across, and then flat out down the center straight. And then across the line for Longy, a 46.7. And now we go back to Steve-O, who does a 45.6. Wowee. Stephen Reese definitely on a new set of tyres for qualifying 2. That is faster than the quali 1 lap time. And that is a mega lap there from Stephen Reese. As now we'll look to Dave Ross, as he's currently sitting in the 6th position and pushing through the hairpin. It'll take a second run of dreams for Longy to try and match that Steve-O lap, but with the 46.7, I think he's probably on used tyres, if I had to take an educated guess. And yeah, Maddie in the chat. Where are you, Maddie? We need you back on the grid. Oh no, what's happened? I hope that's not affecting the broadcast. What's happened? What's happened? What's happened? I don't think it's affecting the broadcast. Oh, no. Oh, there we go. That's Dave Ross off the track. And yeah, Matty, you're right. Definitely saving those tyres, as that's not what you want to do to save tyres there. And now we look to James Parker in the P5 McLaren as he is heading through the middle sector. As Matty says, hopefully we'll be back hole. Back. Oh, I can't speak. I'm reading 3 different comments at once. Hopefully we'll be back soon. As yeah, there we go. Mace corrects it. It is bomb hole. BOMB hole. And it's the corner name. I'm never gonna say it again because it's just not smart to say. When I have when I have a live stream, when I have a live stream to run, I'll probably get too distracted by the name of the corner. But a very neat and tidy lap currently for James Parker. But Eden Nick is currently sitting in the P2 place and in the pit lane. So very much the tyres changing things up. And where will James Parker place himself? It's a 2/10 improvement for him. I think he'll stay P6 as he crosses the line. Yes, he will. And that is not a big enough improvement to move up. I'd imagine use tyres for him as well. A swooper across the line, P8. And then now Davidson across the line, P12. So, in the second race, it's not even a competition. Stephen Rees takes pole with a 45.660 and pulled over and saved his tyres to boot. I wonder if he's going to use that same new set in the race as well. It's all part of the mystery. Or will he go back to his used set and just try park the bus? And now, especially when he has a buffer car between himself and Longy, and Eden Nick with 7/10 behind in quali as well, it could be very, very interesting to see if he goes to a set of used and parks the bus, or if he just tries to go new, stay on the new set that he did. Well, at least I assume it's a new set with a lap time like that in qualifying 2 and then run away. But I think he'll go back to a used set for the race if I had to be a betting man. But it's all speculation. It's part of the glory of the format. And it'll be really interesting to see how this all plays out. I think the Longy definitely used, considering the drop-off in pace, a used set of tyres for qualifying. And I think he could go back to a new set for the race, or he will just stay with the used set and try get the third race lock and key. It'll be interesting. As I've said quite a lot, I think I've never used the word interesting more in my life. But there's no other way to describe it. It's absolutely enthralling stuff when there's so many unknowns going into a race. So a minute 49 until we get ready for the racing action. So Steve-O's just said set 1, Q1, Q2, Q3, and race 3. So he said what I thought. Set 2, race 1 and 2. Okay, so we know that Steve-O is going to use the same set he used in race 1 for race 2. And then in race 3, he'll use the set that he's used in all 3 qualies. So it's kind of what I said earlier. I said you could just dedicate a quali set and a race set. He hasn't exactly done that, but he's done something along a similar line. But really interesting now to know what Steve-O's doing. I don't know if all the other drivers would follow suit as well, but I'd imagine not. And so this makes it really interesting. Now we have insight into what Steve-O's doing. Will the others do the same? Will Longy do the same? I think he's already ditched that effort of doing the same, so it'll be interesting to see how this race goes on. But we know that this set will be, it won't have a lot of wear. It's only done 1 race, but it'll have a bit more wear. So he's definitely going back to his mainly used set of tyres for race 2. So that makes it interesting. He's going to try the park the bus strategy, and hopefully for Steve-O, Eda, Nick, and Longy will both be on their used set as well. Worst try at the moment is 2.7, yeah. So not too much. It'll be good to see how this plays out. So the drivers begin the formation sector. here in Fargone for race 2 at Snetterton, the 300 layout, if you weren't aware. And now through the final corner they go. Through Murray's wheel to wheel with either Nick or Steve on the front row. Then it's Longy, Hoggy on the second row. Speed Racer and Parker on the third row. Then Perkins and Swooper for an all BMW. Fourth row of the grid. So here we go. The green flags ready to fly. The green lights ready to illuminate here as we head towards the line to begin the racing action in race number 2 of Snetterton in Fargone Racing GT Challenge Season 19, and we are underway for racing action here. Stephen Reese gets off to a good start. Eden Nick goes onto the outside. Longy already trying to put his nose in, but he backed out. Oggy's going to now try it the long way around on Longy as they head through turn number 1. Steve-O holds onto the place. Will Longy now go down the inside of Eden Nick? No, Eden Nick covers, but who isn't waiting around is Racer. He's trying it down the inside of Hoggy. He goes. That's McLaren and Ferrari drag racing down towards turn number 3, but Hoggy has the inside, so surely Racer will run out of road. Yes, he will, and now he gets the cut back under this Racer and has the run towards the next braking zone, but he's not going to go left. He's not going to go down the inside. He tried to dummy the nose, but he isn't showing it. He's just going to sit behind. Hoggy holds onto the place, so it's Steve-O from Nick, from Longy, from Hoggy, from Parker, from Racer. No position swapping around too abruptly at the moment as Lee Perkins was under pressure from Davidson, but that has dropped off just a little bit. MJ as well, not under too much pressure, and Tobasire as well, so it's all calming down here up the back. Boost in a bit of nowhere's land at the moment, spun off at the back I think as well, so we'll go back to Steve-O now. We know he's on a set that he used in race number 1. How well will it hold up is the magic question. We know that he uses a different set for qualifying, so the set that he used had not touched the race, and now he's using the one that he used in race number 1. So let's see how he holds up, how he fares. Eden Nick is the one in pursuit. Longy putting the pursuit onto Eden Nick. So this is really an interesting 3-car train. We know what tyres Steve-O's on regarding usage, but we don't know about the other two as we finish the first lap here in race 2. It is all for us to find out, and it is looking super intriguing here, but looks like Eden Nick is dropping off the back of Stephen Reese, and Longy is dropping off the back of Eden Nick just slightly, but I'm sure that it will close back up as well, as it just fluctuates so much corner to corner as well. Even at Snetterton, it's just such a variance, and where the drivers are quick, where they're not. But what is not good for Longy is running wide like he just did. That invites Hoggy back in as well as Speed Racer, who's under pressure from Lee Perkins currently in the BMW M4. So it's Aston versus BMW like we've seen so often here for the P6 place as well. The edge of the top 6, not a bad place to be whatsoever, as MJ was also trying to put the pressure on to Davidson but fell off the back. So we'll go to Hoggy, who has James Parker behind as well. We saw him put the pressure on earlier. He's on the back of the leading train as well. So currently, at its current standpoint, Hoggy is making this a 4-car train, but he's struggling to cling on. But who isn't struggling to get away is Stephen Reese. As they head over the sector split, I can almost guarantee you the gap will be over a second as they head over the sector split. 1.1 seconds. So the race 1 tyre set not doing him too badly at all, and he looks comfortable at the moment, but it's early days. It's only the second lap, so it might be a bit early to call, but he looks comfortable at the front. It looks like he could be on his way to trot towards the second race victory of the night. Race 3 will be the real test. 3 qualifyings on the tyres, and then a race as well. Could be quite interesting to see, but I'd imagine the race tyres have more wear than that, so if he's able to walk away in this one, could be interesting for the next one as well. So it'll be all for us to find out. But in the second race, currently nearly 4 minutes in already, and it's not slowing down at the moment, but Steve-O definitely is trying to just pull away before the tyres drop off. He's just trying to make sure he has a good gap underneath him. And now we go on board here with Lee Perkins as he's chasing down the Aston Martin. Actually scratch the onboard. We're going to go in cockpit onboard here with Lee Perkins as he tries to chase down Racer. BMW versus Aston Martin as they head through the medium speed left. We have only done 1 onboard or 2 onboards in this in this Snetterton circuit in this round tonight so far. Still quite a lot of this race and a third race to go to get more in, but it just really gives you a better sense than the off-board cameras do of how challenging this circuit is, how small it is, and also the gaps between the drivers. It's so brutal, this racetrack. It's so unforgiving, as Lee Perkins runs a bit deep there and just isn't able to open up the exit either to go with, so maybe struggling just a little bit staying with the Aston. Yeah, this circuit, except for this straight here, is pretty skinny, all things considered. So are a lot of the British tracks as well. They're all pretty small in nature except for Silverstone, which is obviously the F1 circuit. It needs to be big, and it's also set out on an airstrip, so what more can you really want? As through the fast right, oh, that's a mistake from Perkins. Just about is able to hold it onto the racing surface, but definitely losing out time to the Aston he's trying to chase. But Hoggy does still have a McLaren right up his chuff here, right underneath his rear wing, sitting steady at the moment as we go onto the rear wing of Hoggy. Watch the McLaren closing in more and more and more with the slipstreamers down into turn one. A dab of the brakes, 2 downshifts, but that's a great run from Parker off of turn one. Could he go for it down into the second hairpin? No, he's not close enough, but Hoggy does have to defend, and that is Parker trying to show the nose on the outside, but he's not able to get anything done here as they push into the end of the first sector now. 1 corner to go, then they'll enter the second sector, and that is Parker with an absolutely fantastic run, and he's going to show the nose on the outside. He tried to do this on lap 1 and he ran out of road. Will he run out of road once again? It looks like it, but he's trying to keep the nose in the McLaren, but Hoggy with a defensive masterclass on display at the moment holds onto the 5th place position over the sector split. It was separated by only 100th between them, and Parker will not be done quite yet as well as they head now onto the straight. The McLaren closer than ever, 1 corner until they head onto the Bentley straight, and he is very close behind, but he'd be brave to go for a move at the next corner of the racetrack. But is he going to show the nose anyway? The outside could be the play here, as he'll get the inside for the next slalom, but he goes down the inside. Very late move there from Parker. Is he able to pull it off? No, he's not. Hoggy holds off the pressure well, but he's a bit deep on the exit. That invites Parker into it once again as they head through the long string of right-handers and now into the very, very elongated right-hander of the penultimate corner of Coram, and now into Murray's, the final corner on the brakes now. Parker was really lodging the pressure on that lap, but Hoggy soaking it up like a sponge and will continue to push on, and hopefully he's able to use that pressure to just put himself in a good position instead of crumbling to it. But Parker's very close out of turn one this time around, even closer than last lap as they head towards the hairpin. Will he try and show the nose? He is trying. He's trying to force Hoggy into a mistake. He's trying to show the nose of that McLaren as much as he possibly can, and Hoggy is really not budging. But if they continue to fight, that could invite the Aston Martin of Racer and the BMW of Perkins into it as well. They're not too distant in the rear view from these two as they push their vehicles as hard as they possibly can. It's out the front as well. Steve-O's already got 2.5 seconds as that's Parker down the inside. That's contact, and that's a spin there for Parker as well. That is not what you want to see. A very, very late maneuver from Parker sees him spinning down the order, and Hoggy with a bit of contact as well. Not ideal whatsoever. We'll get a replay of that one going here with the helicam into the left-hander. Parker very far back, nowhere near move range. He tries to show the nose and just brakes way too late, ends up down the inside, hits the Ferrari, spins off, kind of pays back his own mistake. That is not what you want to see from a racing action standpoint. You just want to see more wheel-to-wheel, but now that battle is well and truly over. But we still have race 3 to resume this battle as well. You can't count it out completely, but for this race here in race 2, those two probably won't find each other on the track again. But Parker once again will be putting the pressure on a car. It'll be MJ, not quite as fast as Hoggy or himself, so he should make light work of the Aston Martin. And actually there's a mistake for MJ to allow Parker right through. Convenient timing for the McLaren. He swoops back through The closest battle on track is still Hoggy, but this time it's the Speed Racer, but we know that he's a little bit quicker than Speed Racer behind. He was battling with Parker and still was able to keep a gap to these two. So we know he has the raw speed over these guys, but does he have damage on that Ferrari is the main thing that I want to know. There was contact with the McLaren, as if we can get a good shot of the front left. It doesn't look like there's much damage to be seen at all on the 296, so I think all is good on the western front for Hoggy at the moment. And he should just begin to pull away here from Speed Racer, but Speed Racer is not able to shake Lee Perkins whatsoever at this point. It is more than a second, but then it closes back in so much through certain parts of the racetrack. So Perkins really strong at some parts and really not at others, and that's the portion of the racetrack where Perkins is faster than Speed Racer. So the car 55 really pushing here. And I think at the rate that race is going, he's really trying to get a pro sticker slapped on his car as well. That could be interesting to see if we do see any mid-season class movement. But just really giving it his all. Here's Lee Perkins, and race has seen such an improvement this season. I spoke about it a couple times since the season started, but a couple of drivers have really caught me off guard this season with vast improvements to their driving over the off-season, which wasn't very long. Might I add, I think most impressive of which is Longy. He was fast last season, but he wasn't battling Steve-O to any regard last season, nor was he battling Maddie. And then he arrived in round one with a vengeance. And some rounds, especially in qualifying, just really shows up and gets the results. So it's really good to see such an improvement from him. And also the likes of Speed Racer and Swooper, as much as he's in P9. Last season he would have been right up the back with Dave Ross and Davidson, so the improvement is so vast from these drivers, all in the silver class as well. It's just so good to see all these drivers developing, and I think that we'll see the likes of Dave Ross and Lee and Davidson slowly improve as well. And I think that's part of it. That's part of Fargone. It's the fact that the drivers are just there every single week, week in, week out, bettering themselves all the time, and makes the racing so interesting as we just build stories. Like Maddie and Steve-O, they battle week in, week out as much as we don't have Maddie on the grid, but we expect it. We know that it's going to be there when they're around. It makes it so entertaining to watch, and now we're seeing Longy get involved in those battles as well, and even some weeks, like we're seeing right now, Eden Nick's the P2 car. Like, we wouldn't have seen that last season. It's just always changing. It's an ever-evolving grid here in the GT Challenge. And so I think that it is a massive bonus here on this grid as we go back off board once again. Kind of got caught up with my own little rant and then forgot that I was sitting in the cockpit cam the entire time. But there is 5 minutes to go here in Snetterton as they continue to push. And they're still not too far away from Hoggy, but they're far enough away where Hoggy probably won't be feeling too much pressure. However, Longy is getting close to Eden Nick once again. It did space out earlier on, and it is still just over a second, but it's dwindling. It's very close. I'm not sure what the tyre strategy is between these two. It's kind of hard to tell, but I think they're definitely on used sets. But how used, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they used both for Quali 1 and Race 1, and then Race 2 as well, and then they'll have a fresh set for Race 3 and Quali 3, etc. They could do a variance of things here, but currently it looks like Longy has better tyres than Eden Nick at this point in the race, so also maybe the BMW just chewing its tyres a tiny bit. There's a good bit of speculation with a strategy that can play out like this, but there's 4 minutes to go here in Snetterton, and these two are closing up, and this is for the end of the podium. This is good points and also good bragging rights as well to get a podium place, no matter what race it is, race 1, 2 or 3. It's always the same amount of importance for a podium as they head through the final corner. And Longy is right there as they cross the line. The gap is going to be only a couple tenths. In fact, it is just under 4 tenths. So that gap really closed through the first sector. How long until Longy puts the pressure on as they head into the hairpin now? This is heating up between these two in the final stages of this race. 4 seconds to Stevo, so there's nothing to lose in the catching the leader regard. And they have 5.6 seconds behind them, so as long as they don't crash, they are free to fight without too much consequence here in the dying stages of this second race. So Longy just really trying to get over the back of Nick, really just trying to place his car in a position where he's filling up the mirrors of the BMW. That's all you can do as a car behind until you get to an overtaking point of the circuit. You just got to fill up their mirrors, so when they check behind, all they see is your car. And right now, I think the Longy's doing an absolutely spectacular job of doing that. And already with the slipstream, he's trying to show the nose on the BMW as they are about to head towards the penultimate lap of this race. So currently, once they cross the line, there will be one more after the next lap, because of when Stevo is going to cross the line, and even these two wouldn't have crossed it at the right point, I don't think. Yeah, Stevo running the final corner now, so once again it's going to end up about the same as it did last race, with Stevo crossing the line only a couple seconds before he needed to, and across the line now. So we are heading on to the penultimate lap of this race. It's all to play for between Longy and Nick. This is for P2. It's a good chunk of points. So this is going to be really aggressive, I think, from Longy as we head through the penultimate lap and the final lap. And I think it's going to be good defense from Nick as well. If Longy is able to get the nose in, he won't give up. We know that much. He's a fighter, Nick, and especially when there's only 2 laps to go in the race. Why would you give it up? There's always a time and a place to defend, and especially at a track like Snetterton, so skinny, fighting for a P2. You have to absolutely defend it with your life. So, on board now with the McLaren, with Longy, as he wrestles the McLaren to try and put the pressure on. That's a mistake, as he's going to recover from the mistake. We'll go back off board, but that is a bigger gap than it was a few moments ago. Not by too much, but you don't want to run that deep. As they cross the sector line in a few seconds, I think the gap will probably be about 0.6 of a second across the sector line. 0.6, so that mistake cost Longy roughly 0.2 of a second. So once again, he's going to have to close back in through the third sector and try and overtake Nick on the final lap of this race. He would have had to anyway, but the pressure's on just that little bit more. Now he's already flinched once. Nick knows that it shouldn't be too much of a problem to try and make him make a mistake once again. Oh no, that's a massive mistake from Longy. Out of the final corner. He was about to be mounting the pressure onto the BMW, and now he has to battle to put his car in a straight line. He went too wide at the final corner, hit the grass, and that sends him spearing out of contention for the P2 without a big mistake from Nick as well. So that is a 1.3 second gap through the first sector, and he's very wide. I think his tyres on that McLaren might have just given up. So it'll be interesting to see in the third race what his pace is like. We don't know what tyres they have used. We know what the strategy is for Stevo, but other than that, we're pretty clueless in the grand scheme of things. So the last lap of the race, we'll now move back up to the man we were just speaking about strategy-wise, Stephen Rees. He's driven a commanding drive. We know that he used these same tyres in race 1, so he'll have to use his quali set in race 3. So he used it in the first qualifying, second qualifying. He will use this set of tyres. Not anymore. He's flashing his lights. but he'll use them for the next quali and the next race. They shouldn't be too bad to wear. These tyres don't look too bad either in the grand scheme of things, but now he's heading through the final sector. He's flashing his lights, probably watching the broadcast as he goes along through this final sector, as he has a tendency of doing, as now heading through Karam and now into Murray's, the final corner, and for the second time of the night, Steve-O will round the final corner, head onto the centre straight, and he's going to take the victory in race number 2. Take a bow for another commanding drive in that Ferrari. Steve Reese is your race winner in race number 2. Eden Nick will come home P number 2 in race number 2. Longy will come home P3 to round the podium. Will be a bit disappointed with himself for the mistake. Hoggy will get P number 4. Racer will get P5. Lee Perkins in the sensational BMW will get a top 6. What a legend. Parker will get P number 7 in the McLaren. MJ now about to cross the line will get P number 8. Then Swooper heading down the centre straight as well, with Demon Boost right behind as well for 9th and 10th. Then Hugs will come home in the 11th spot. Then Dave Ross will come home in P number 12 as he rounds the final corner now. And he'll just lug it across the line. So in my time calling the races here in Fargone, so a season just over at this point, I've never seen, I said it earlier and I'll say it again, there's a little bit of cars action going on. Lee is getting a push. Lee is getting a push from Toba Sire through the final sector. I think the Aston's out of fuel. This is absolutely brilliant sportsmanship here. But yeah, never in my time of calling the super sprint rounds in Fargone, and just Fargone in general, have I seen somebody knock out all 3 race wins, and with fastest lap and the race win in both, but only a pole in race number 2. If he sticks it on the front row again in race number 3, likely on pole, I think we could crown the triple win here tonight. I think we could see the first I think we could see the first driver, at least in my time commentating, to win all 3 races in a super sprint. So Lee gets pushed across the line by Toba Sire. So your final order in race number 2 is Steve-O wins by 7.5 seconds with the fastest lap from Eda Nick, Longy, Hoggy, Racer, Perkins, Parker, MJ, Swooper, Boost, Hugs, Ross, Davidson, Lee, and Toba Sire. And now once again we'll gear up for another intermission and then gear up for qualifying 3 and race number 3, which will obviously once again be called by myself in the comms box, Lindsay Muddle. And I'll see you again in a few minutes' time, ladies and gentlemen. And we are back once again for another qualifying session here in Snetterton. It is the last qualifying session of the night, and it all comes down to this. Can Stevo go 3 for 3, or can Longy or anybody else on this grid disrupt the Stevo domination in Snetterton? It's all for us to find out. We know that Stevo's current set he's used in both of the qualifying sessions so far, but none of the races, and we also know that the set he's using right now will be the set he uses for the race. So we don't know how worn they are. I'd imagine not too much so. It'll be really interesting, but the general consensus, and if I were a betting man, I'd agree, even Stevo thinks so, Longy is probably on completely brand new tyres, so he will be full beans, full pace. This is going to be absolutely sensational stuff here in the third qualifying and race of the night. It's going to be anybody's guess as to who will come out on top in race number 3. But right now we look to the man who got pole in race number 1 and P3 in race number 2, P2 in race number 1 as well. Let's see how he fares up in the grand scheme of things in this qualifying session in Snetterton. We'll go cockpit camera, full on board here. We'll even get the telemetry going for his qualifying lap. It's the first full telemetry lap of the night, and it's going to be the only full telemetry lap of the night. So on board with Longy as he heads through Coram and then into Murray's. You've really got to set up the lap here in Snetterton. It's a very demanding lap, and it begins now. The run off the final corner, the run down the centre straight, and the lap will now begin for Longy. Down towards turn 1, you've really got to spot your braking point at the turn-in board, and then just 4th gear, tip it in, get to the late apex, power out. He's absolutely flying into the second hairpin, braking at the marker board on the left-hand side, tip it through, get towards the apex, power out, don't get the rear wobbly, otherwise it will bite back and you will lose lap time as you head through the medium speed left-hander, get it across to the apex, just really have got to saw at the wheel through that left-hander and then into the medium speed left, just get it slowed up. Well, it's not really medium speed, it's more slow speed, and then power out. Traction's tricky. We've seen some mistakes over the course of the practice session before the stream really started, and in the races as well. High speed left-hander, keep it fully committed, just a little bit of a lift, heavy on the anchors for Longy, keep it tight but then open it up, and then the run onto the Bentley straight as you head through Williams, and then now onto the Bentley straight, power out, completely flat out down the straight in any car, obviously being a straight line, but the McLaren absolutely opening it up at the moment, and then into Brundle through the left, get it tight, open up the right-hander of Nelson, and then power right out as you now head down the hill. Just a little bit of a dab of the brakes, a really tricky corner. Doesn't look that tricky on the track map, but on the circuit it definitely is. Then flat out before you just slowly ride on the brakes and the power at the same time, and then heavy on the anchors for the final corner, and he's negotiated Murray's well back onto the centre straight once again to finish the lap. What is it going to be across the line for Longy? Stevo did a 45.7. Longy, will he top it? No, he goes 4 tenths, nearly 5 tenths behind that, but he's going to go again. So Stevo currently sitting on provisional pole, giving it all the beans, currently has all the marbles in his hand at the moment, but Longy's not done just yet, but we'll go to Stephen Rees. Is he up? No, he's currently matching his previous best lap time. He's not caring about saving the tyres. He knows this is all the chockies at the moment. He needs to take this home. He has the provisional pole in the palm of his hand. Can he just hold on to it? Will Longy improve enough to even make him sweat? But the race is going to be the most important part as well. That is the part where it really hooks up, but we know his tyre wear won't be too bad on this set, but Longy will be on a completely fresh one if we were gambling men here in the YouTube chat. And also just the general consensus from the man who's won both of them as well, as Stevo heads now onto the Bentley straight, looking very neat and tidy. Longy's back in the pit lane. Crucially enough, he will not improve again. So right now it looks like Stevo will be your man on the provisional, on the pole position, not even provisional, as he heads through Brundle and then through the slow speed right, just slug it through the corner and then right on the throttle Steve-O is already going to have the upper hand heading into race number 3. But as he rounds now the penultimate corner and then gets ready to set up the final corner, that Ferrari has been dominant all season long so far. It's not slowing down this round. He's had 2 wins, and now it'll be 2 pole positions as he crosses the line. He is going to improve on top of it as well, just for the bragging rights. Why not, Steve? Set the fastest lap of the night, a 45.545 for Stephen Rees. Turn it up, ladies and gentlemen. That is an absolutely fantastic lap time there from the man himself, who's been dominating this night, and he'll continue to do so, as now Hugs currently sitting in P6, clearly with a fresh set of tyres strapped to that McLaren. He's driving like an absolute rocket ship at the moment. He's currently 4 tenths up. This could put him into the top 5 as he's heading towards the line now. Hugs crosses the line. Will it be P5? Yes, it will. Just pips Perkins to the place as well. And that is an absolutely amazing qualifying lap, as Tobesaya currently 8 tenths up on his previous best. That would not be enough to put him past Dave Ross, but he's still improving as he heads through the final corner now. Will it be enough to get to Dave Ross? Will it be enough to move up into the 11th place? Let's see what he has as he heads towards the line in the BMW M4 for the P11 spot. Can he clinch it? Yes, he can. Tobesaya gets P11 off of Dave Ross. So Steve Rees, with the fast lap of the night, takes the pole position by nearly 7 tenths of a second over Longy. He doesn't care about tyre preservation this time. Then it's Eda Nick, Hoggy, Hugs, Perkins, Racer, MJ Parker. Swooper rounds out your top 10. Tobesai gets 11th. Dave Ross gets P number 12. Then Davidson gets P13. Lee and Demon Boost is the last car on the grid in the 3rd qualifying session of the night. So now we'll gear up for race number 3, the final one of the night. Steve-O looking comfortable to try and take the 3rd race win, but we'll see if Longy has any response, or maybe even Eda Nick or Hoggy. We know they've all been pretty pacey. They've had their fair share of a good night. So let's see how this goes as they gear up for the race. So 2 minutes 23 until we get going again, and as is tradition, all of the time, Helicam for the best view of the action I'll be calling in front of you. And we get ready. Can Steve-O crown himself the 3-time winner in one race? Might I add, not to mention all the other wins this season. He's absolutely having a dominant championship campaign with no Matty around on the circuit. But can he take out all 3 in a super sprint? That would be absolutely fantastic. We had a couple of predictions that he would. I wasn't so sure, but I think after that qualifying session I've been swayed. I'd be inclined to agree with everybody who said he can. I think he can. He's definitely pulling out some magic here in Snetterton. He's really getting along with the Ferrari this season. Not to mention he's just a beast of a driver. But Longy is going to put up a fight for sure, especially if he gets a good run on the first lap. All he needs to do is take the lead, and from there he can just defend to his heart's content. That is his way to get a race win. I don't think he has the pure pace. I really don't tonight. But I think that all it takes is a good launch off the line, and he could find himself into that lead. From there, you just defend and defend. There's not too many overtaking spots on this circuit. There's only a couple, and you just got to make sure you cover them off. So it is all going to come down to who has the most guts here on lap number 1. I think if Steve-O leads away the first lap, it's over Red Rover. But we'll have to see, as there's 45 seconds until we get race 3 underway. So they turn on their cars, and the formation sector will now begin for the third time tonight in the UK. They're formed up 2 by 2 by 2. It's race alongside Longy like it was in race number 1, but this time it was Stevo who chucked it on pole position with Longy in P2. It was quite a dominant margin by Stevo. Eden, Nick and Hoggy then take up the second row like in race number 1. Then it's Hugs and Perkins on the third row. Then it's Racer and MJ on the fourth. And now the green flags get ready to fly. The green lights get ready to illuminate for the third race of the night, the final race of the night. It all comes down to this here in Snetterton. One more 18-minute split ahead of us, and we're underway for racing action. And Longy does get off to a good start. He's done exactly what he needs to do, but can he hold it? The long way round at turn 1 is the big question. There's nearly contact there, millimetres between the two leaders as they try and battle this away here on lap 1. But Stevo has the inside into the hairpin. I think that he's going to hold on to this. Meanwhile, in the background, that's Eden Nick on the inside of Hoggy as they head through the first sector. But now Hoggy will have the inside for the next corner. He should be able to hold on the road. Will run out for the BMW driver as they head through the left-hander. It looks like Hoggy is going to hold on to the P3 spot, but I'm sure that battle won't cool down at any point during the race. But Longy really trying to put the pressure on, trying to put Stevo to his paces here in race number 3, but just being able to hold it on the inside. Stevo was able to defend, hold the place despite Longy's good start. That's exactly where he needed to place his car and exactly what he needed to do to hold on to the lead. Now it's a case of either pulling away like he has been or just absolutely parking the bus against Longy. But Longy will not give this one up easily. He will be absolutely hunting for the win here as we still have a long set of laps ahead of us. Even though it's only 18 minutes, it definitely drags, but in a good way, for the good racing action. The longer it goes, the better. It seems tonight. It never seems to stop. And the tyres not screaming out for help yet. It seems like all the drivers seem pretty content at the moment. And these two are the closest battle on the track, as expected. But Hoggy and Eden Nick, we saw them battle in race number 1. And we're certainly gonna see it again, but Hoggy really won't want to drop off the back of this top 2 train if he can help it, but we know that he doesn't quite have the pace tonight compared to these two who have been absolutely dominant. The 2 best drivers on the grid tonight, no doubt, but Stevo definitely has it over Longy as he leads away the first lap, gets the fastest lap of the race, obviously first one to cross the line on the first lap, and then into the hairpin. Just keep it slowed up. Stevo knows what to do. He's been here many times before, not just here tonight at Snetterton 2 times, but he's just done it so many times in his league racing career. He's an absolute unit, and he's just really showing us what he's made of tonight. This is the stuff that champions are made of. Drives like this, taking home all 3 wins in a super sprint. He hasn't done it just yet, but I think it's pretty likely as he's already putting the paces on Longy and pulled away nearly a second. Stevo might have a tyre drop-off at some point in this race, but maybe not as well. He's only used these tyres for quali so far. It is the point where you push the car the most, but tyres don't wear that much here in a set of course competizione. GT3s are pretty kind on their tyres, all things considered, until the track temps get a little bit hotter. So it'll be interesting to see how much wear it really has. Definitely talking to him after the race will be a learning experience for me as a commentator, just knowing a little bit more of what to expect in these super sprint rounds. But he's looking quite comfortable, but Longy isn't letting him go. Gap is just dwindling at that 1 second mark though as they head through the third sector, as Colin definitely pointing it out exactly how it needs to be said. Couldn't have said it better myself. Stevo's car is just so planted to the racetrack. Yeah, it is. It's not just the car though, it's him. It's the way he drives. He's so smooth, just so talented behind the wheel of a race car, and it really shows. He just makes any car look absolutely phenomenal. He could be driving a tractor and it'd look as smooth as humanly possible. So that's just the capability of the driver, and especially when he has good machinery underneath him, it's even better. But he has pulled over a second to Longy, so now he's just got to keep his head cool, keep away, not make a mistake, and he should be alright. But Lee Perkins is on the back of this little 3-way battle, and as well as Hoggy's not letting go from Longy this race around as well, but it is still quite extended, 1.7 seconds, so I wouldn't imagine they close back up. But Perkins clearly on new tyres in this race. He's flying away from Hugs behind him, and he's right on the back of Nick and Hoggy. So this is an interesting BMW versus Ferrari train here, but I think that Hoggy should break the 1 second to Nick soon enough here on lap number 3. But Perkins, he's in a good position to attack at some point soon, so he'll use it. He won't let Nick get away if he can help it. As they head through the middle sector towards the end of the middle sector, just giving it absolutely everything they have. And over the sector split, it's 1.7 seconds from Steve-O to Longy. He's so comfortable at the front, and it's 1.6 seconds from Hoggy to Longy as well. So that train has well and truly sailed, but Nick's still staying within a second of Hoggy at the moment, just really giving it everything in that BMW. He doesn't want to let the Ferrari get away at this stage. And he's going to show it. He needs to pressure. He needs to put his nose in, get right up behind that Ferrari, but it's easier said than done. Especially when you have another car behind hounding you. As we go on board with Lee Perkins, just chasing behind his fellow BMW compatriot. And I think he knows that this fight will be his if he plays his cards right, as that was very much Nick very close behind Hoggy. I think Hoggy probably made a mistake at some point, and that has allowed Nick to claw right back in here. And he's right there. The gap is only 3.5 tenths of a second, and it's going to heat up between these two as the laps count away. The time counts down. It's just going to get closer and closer and more tense. These two have been battling absolutely hammer and tong all night, and it'll come down to this one final shout at it for the P3 position. Nonetheless, the edge of the podium, as Steve-O has now pulled a 2-second gap to Longy, so he has absolutely booked it, and he's not showing any signs of slowing down, at least not yet, as we are nearly 7 minutes into this race. So a little bit of a mistake there from Hoggy, just a little bit too aggressive over the top of the grass. And this little three-way train looking very nice, but Swooper has a bit of pressure behind him from MJ in the Aston Martin. So it's BMW versus Aston. We've seen this combination of cars quite a lot as they head through the final sector. The Aston Martin all over the back of Swooper at the moment. MJ looking very comfortable behind the wheel of the British machine, and he's hounding the back of the BMW down towards turn 1. The Aston does have the run, but he won't be alongside as they head into the braking zone, but he'll be very close. It's definitely lungeable at the second hairpin, at the second corner and into the first hairpin of the lap. Will he make that lunge though? He is looking for that lunge, but he doesn't make that lunge down the inside on Swooper. He's just going to stay content, stay behind, be patient. He doesn't need to rush this whatsoever, and he knows that. He has another 10 minutes to get it done. It's a sprint race at the end of the day. You still need to act fast, but a stupid dive bomb is not the answer here, and I think that he's definitely more than knows that. As all, speaking of, he hits the back of the BMW. I couldn't have cut to that camera any better. He flies into the back of Swooper, lets him hold the place. Hopefully they shouldn't get overtaken by Tobasai. They still have quite the gap behind them, but that's definitely not something I expected to see. I think that was potentially even some netcode, because they weren't super close together at the time of contact, so not exactly sure what's going on. I didn't even mean to cut to that camera, so I'm not sure exactly what happened, but hence the limited reaction, I guess. I couldn't really comprehend what had happened. I just knew that he'd been rear-ended. But regardless, MJ still hounding the back of the BMW. Hopefully no damage on either of the cars from what I think was contact that caused a spin, and he's really so much faster than that BMW at the moment. He's all over him through all of the corners as we are already halfway through the third race, and Steve-O is nearly 4 seconds clear of Longy at the moment. as well. This is a similar gap to what we saw last lap around MJ, just trying to put the pressure on to Swooper, but he's a bit closer through turn 1 this time actually. If he gets a good run off the corner, the turn 2 dive bomb could be among us, but no, it's not going to be. And he's just sitting behind, as this is where we saw the contact last lap as well, into, and not this left-hander, but the next one, the hairpin. This is where the contact was. We'll see if there's any contact again. I don't think there's going to be, considering the gap between the two of the cars is just extended a little bit. There is not. It's up the front as well. It's all spacing out. So these two are the closest battle on the circuit. Absolutely fantastic stuff to watch, as we'll now do an onboard lap here with MJ. We'll do the rest of this lap up until the Bentley straight a lap from now. So I'm going to mute myself and just enjoy the sound of that V8. There we go, that is an onboard lap with MJ in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT3. He made a mistake, broke too late at that hairpin where they made contact, but now he has the run down the straight. Is he going to go for it on the BMW? No, he's not, but he's very close behind. That's a big slide, and he's all over the back of Swooper as they head down the hill now, as they head through the deceptively tricky right-hander. He's hounding the back closer than he was any other lap this race so far. Even after a mistake at the hairpin, he closed it right back up, caught Swooper almost off guard, I think, with how quickly he caught back up, and now he's really putting that BMW to his paces. This is the closest it's been between these two heading through this portion of the straight at all so far this race, and we're nearly 13 minutes in. We are 13 minutes into this race. There's 5 minutes to go, and MJ is running out of time. He's running out of laps to get this one done. Every lap is about a minute 46 to a minute 48, depending on where you are on the grid and what your pace stacks up like. But MJ has probably 3 laps until he can no longer hound the back of Swooper, so he'll have to get a move on sooner rather than later if he wants to get the P9 position. As up the front, there's absolutely nothing going on. This is easily the closest battle on the racing surface. There's nobody else close together from each other, as Boost and Tovasaya fluctuate from about 4/10 to a second. This is the only consistent battle going on up and down the racing track, and it's absolutely sensational stuff seeing these two hounded out in the midfield. Midfield battles are some of the most entertaining battles you can watch in motorsport, and it stands true for league racing as well, and sim racing as a whole as well. It's just always the way the cookie crumbles. It's just so good watching the two mid-pack cars just absolutely hound each other as they push their cars as hard as they possibly can, even if it's not at the maximum pace that you can possibly extract out of a car. It's a fantastic watch as MJ, as they head through the right-hander and now into the very long penultimate corner. It feels like it goes on forever. The front lefts must be absolutely screaming as Steve-O out the front is 3.6 seconds to Longy. I think he's actually closed into him just a little bit, but that's a great run off the final corner, and already MJ trying to pull alongside, using the slipstream, using the legs of the Aston in a straight line, but he's not able to quite get alongside the BMW, potentially just with a better top speed as they head through turn 1 now. He's definitely going to try it down the inside of the hairpin. Surely he does. He's so close. No, he doesn't. He's still playing it patient. He only has probably 1 or 2 more laps in this race, and he's still just going to sit behind despite the run off the final corner. He's just content to sit in P10, sit behind, keep him behind, keep him ahead, sorry, until maybe even a final lap move. And what Swooper needs to do is keep MJ behind, keep him at bay, and just keep that P9 in the palm of his hand, and he should be able to hold on to the place, which is what he's doing so well at this current stage of the race in Snetterton. He's holding on like an absolute champion, using the BMW's strengths and the BMW's weaknesses to better his race result. He can use the weaknesses to almost lure MJ into a false sense of security that he should be able to get the place, and then once the car gets a little bit stronger at certain points of the circuit, he just absolutely flies away and uses it to just about have a gap onto the straight, as we are now heading towards the penultimate lap. Steve-O has started the penultimate lap, so there's 1 more lap to go after this next one that the drivers are going on to. Steve-O is getting clawed in just a little bit by Longy. That's another mistake off the final corner from Swooper, but once again, I don't know if MJ is going to be able to get alongside. The gap's a little bit bigger than last lap. It's smaller than the rest of the others as they head through turn 1. Surely he has to make a move at the hairpin. He's so close, and this time he is going to try it. He tries to show the nose down the inside. Goes MJ on Swooper. He finally decides to commit to it, and this time, after the commitment, he gets through. Moves up into P9. A great move down the inside from MJ, and already he's pulling away from Swooper at a rate of knots. That is the move he's needed to make the past few laps. He waited until he was absolutely sure he could get it done, took advantage, and absolutely sailed past into the P9 place. A brilliant move and great racecraft from MJ and Swooper to help that move happen without any problems, and that is exactly what you love to see. And already he's pulled 1.4 seconds to Swooper, so that battle was never in doubt as to who was the quicker car. It was just a matter of trying to get through. But now, once again, onto the final lap. Steve-O goes out in the lead, 3.3 seconds. So, he didn't quite get pole in the first qualifying. It was very close, but Longy took it out. But on lap 1 of the race, Steve-O hounded, put the pressure on, and got the lead before they even got to the second braking zone. He used that, clawed away, pulled away, and got the win in race number 1. And I was already speculating as to if he could win all 3. Then he even let us in on his strategy into qualifying 2, gets pole by a country mile, and Longy wasn't even able to get close qualifying time-wise. And Eda Nick even pips him to the P2. Down towards turn 1, Steve-O holds on, and once again is just able to pull away as Longy just sunk back into Eda Nick and battled away, but wasn't quite able to hold it on. And then Steve-O takes the race 2 win. And even then, we knew his strategy. We knew he was going to have fresh-ish tyres heading into the final race. And even still, I had question marks. I didn't know if he was going to be able to take home this 3rd win. And then he just absolutely struck out pole with the fastest lap of the night with a 45.5, which for the record, at least according to my telemetry, he's done a 45.5 again in the race. So he's absolutely flying out there as he runs very deep. And now, here in race 3, after knocking out a dominant pole position, a dominant three races as a whole. He's going to head through the penultimate corner now, the long right-hander for one last time tonight in Snetterton, and then he'll head into Murray's for one last time, the 90-degree left. He negotiates it, and for the third time tonight, I am going to call it once again. Steve-O, is you going to be your race winner in Snetterton? Here we go, and it's the first three-time winner of a super sprint since the broadcasting began in Sensational, and it's a sensational performance and drive from Steve Reese. Take a bow, mate. You could not write it any better yourself, and what a good result that is. He's already having a dominant season. That just helps his championship case even more. He wins by a country mile in all three races. He will be ecstatic. Longy once again comes home in P2, pulling out some donuts. Hoggy gets P number 3. Eater Nick gets P4. Hugs gets P number 5. Racer gets P6. Perkins gets the 7th position. MJ gets P number 8. Swooper gets P9. Boost will come home for P number 10. Tobasaya gets 11th. Ross will get the 12th position. Lee will come home 13th. Davidson will get the 14th place in the final place on the grid, but they're still not quite done with the lap. Actually, Ross is coming, actually no, Davidson's coming up towards the line now to finish the lap. But Steve-O, take a bow, mate, in the stream chat as well. And holy moly, I did not expect to see 3 times in one night you knock out the victory. I'd never seen it done before. Obviously, Nürburgring last season, Tuan and you traded wins, as well as Maddie as well. And then all the other super sprint rounds we've had never came out with 3 winners from the same car. And then Steve-O, you absolutely pulled it out of the bag tonight. Thank you, Marshall, for the compliment. So your final order of the grid tonight is Stephen Reese, Longy, then Hoggy, Eater Nick, Hug, Speed Racer, Perkins, Parker, MJ, Swooper, Boost, Tobasaya, Ross, Lee, and Davidson. So that has been an absolutely fantastic night of racing, if I do say so myself, in Fargone GT Challenge Season 19. Here for round 5 at Snetterton. Super sprints absolutely deliver. Steve-O knocks out all 3 as well to boot. Thank you for watching, everybody. And I have been Lindsay Muddle, calling the commentary tonight. If you like what you see, Sensational throws so many race streams out every single week. I'm in quite a few of them as well. And you can't forget about the counterparts that run Sensational TV, Chris Munro and Zach O'Reilly. Not in the box with me tonight, but absolute legends themselves. So if you like what you've seen tonight, check out the channel. And hopefully you can join watching us, but I know all of you in the chat definitely already have. We see you stream in, stream out. Thank you for watching, and keep it flat out.